You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, it's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. And there you go, ladies. When there are ladies things that makes it official. Thank God I didn't have to do that after 13 years and turn that over to her. Anyway, guys, she's just in there. Anyway, guys, welcome to 16 years and over 2,400 episodes of the Chris Voss Show, where we keep bringing you 10 to 15 new amazing minds, sharp people who know their wonderful stories, how they can improve your life, some of the things that they've overcome in their life, and they've got the blueprints on how to make your life better. So, but we do in the meantime need to guilt trip you and shame you to refer your family, friends, and relatives. You know, I just go proselyting door to door around your neighborhood and knock on doors. Tell them to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, and all the other crazy places we are on the internet. Today we had an amazing young man on the show. Trevor Schade joins us. We're going to be talking to him about his insights, his experience, the things he's overcome in life, the challenges and different things, and we're going to get into it with him. He's a distinguished figure in the real estate industry, blending a deep understanding of market dynamics with innovative strategies and relentless drive. Over a decade of experience, he's built a robust real estate portfolio valued at over $4 million and led a skilled team of agents to new heights. His programming background allows him to leverage technology for advanced operations and marketing, while his Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certification highlights his commitment to operational excellence. Note to self, don't fight Trevor. As a voracious reader, Trevor has absorbed insights in over 100 books on psychology and sales, equipping him with a profound understanding of human behavior and sales strategies. Overcoming a season of near total life implosion, including near bankruptcy, divorce, and paralyzing stroke, now allows Trevor to understand, empathize, and strategize with others, regardless of the season or the next move they want to make in their lives, and he helps a ton of people do that. Welcome to the show. How are you, Trevor?
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Thanks for coming. We certainly appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to learn more about you on the interwebs?
Absolutely. TrevorSchade.com. That's where everything spawns from. I've got all of the socials on there. You can throw my name in Google. You can throw my name in any social media, and I've got videos and posts on every one of them. So if somebody has a preferred one, Trevor Schade on any one of those, that's usually my my tag name as well, and username and all that. And the website is TrevorSchade.com.
There you go. And you're a bit of maybe a jack of all trades. Is that a good analogy for you?
Yeah, I would say that's very accurate. Absolutely.
Keynote, promoter, investor, coach, consultant, full-time maximizer, inspired foundations, and life wealth courses. So you do all. Give us, in your words, a 30,000 overview of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started really quite young, about fifth grade. I started writing computer code. And
Really?
So that began the, Bite into Basic was the name of the course. And it was the basic on a Mac computer. And that's where the techie side of my very linear brain began. And that transferred all the way into the Lean Six Sigma, which to the listeners that don't know what that is, Lean is a methodology to streamline and make efficient processes, companies, business. Six Sigma. So that's like when 99% isn't good enough, meaning like landing an airplane. 99% is not quite good enough. You need a smaller deviation. You need a smaller error percentage. So that's what Six Sigma is. Put them together, and there you go. Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. And very statistically analytical, very deep, big data, deep dive, that kind of stuff. And it really, the part that I gravitated to was the asking the right questions, because I started seeing about the same time I was running a multi-level marketing company, and I saw that a lot of the times people just weren't asking themselves the right questions. They weren't asking about where they wanted to go. What did they already know about what type of industries or avenues or directions would get them to there? Even just very basic knowledge. You ask a group of people, hey, what are some careers that tend to make you good wealth? Well, we all start rattling off the same ones. We start thinking doctors and lawyers, and we judges, and we go down that, real estate, and you go down those same paths. And so if someone's not asking themselves that right question, well, they're never going to come up with the right answer. And so in the Lean and Six Sigma training, that is certainly the portions that I gravitated to, was getting into the psychology and asking the questions. And I told you, from fifth grade, I've been a very linear mind. But then I thought, but humans are not necessarily linear, and emotions and emotional decision making. And so that's where my study into the books of the psychology books came in my early 20s, to start learning a very analytical approach to human nature and decision making models and decision making processes. And it really changed the way I viewed people. And the biggest, most monumental moment that changed the total trajectory was when I read a book that talked about just a very basic, like, quadrants of personalities and temperaments, kind of like a Myers-Briggs. It was a Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. I, for the first time, realized that just because I was living and breathing off of efficiency and maximizing life and what can be done and what is possible and what could we create, it wasn't wrong that somebody would choose and want and prefer to build a life that was the most peaceful, or the most structured, predictable, and safe, or the most entertaining and enjoyable. And it could be at the foregoing of the others. And it was the first time in my life that I really blew apart the construct of right versus wrong and moved on to preference.
There you go. So now you said you blow up right versus wrong versus preference. Give us a deeper dive into what that means for you.
Sure. I really do believe that it is, even in, like, let's go dating world, or somebody trying to find a significant other, and it applies to business partners. It applies to everything. It's not about whether somebody is right in the way they think and are, or wrong in the way they think and are. It really is more of a preference. It's a fit, not fit question.
Okay.
And again, that's that right question. So if somebody believes that eating out regularly is a more comfortable, peaceful way to be, you never mess up the kitchen, so you don't have to do it. And then someone else that they don't mind the dishes, and it's just actually kind of peaceful to do dishes and to do a task that gives you immediate gratification. And they're like, but I can eat healthier at home for cheaper. They just have a different priority or value system. Neither one of them is wrong. It's a preference, not right and wrong. And then, obviously in the dating sector, it would be like a fit, not fit type sector. Or when it comes to a business partnership, same type of questions. Is somebody valuing a lot of runway in the bank, or is somebody valuing capitalizing on the opportunities? And everybody's probably going to be on a gradient of those, but how far away are you on each little category? And I think that would tell you whether or not you should jump into business together.
That's a good predictor of stuff. Now, what do you mainly focus on, or what do we want to talk about and promote today? Do you have some products or services we want to focus on?
Yeah. I think what I like to share with the world most is, if I have the ability to help an organization, help a company, help a small business owner, even on a large corporate scale, if somebody is struggling with some kind of pain point and it's just too hard, and they shouldn't have to be the everything, then there's a whole set of consulting services that I can offer and bring in, questions I can ask, exercises we can do together that ultimately find out, what do you actually want as an end product? What's the goal? What's the aim? What's the end? And then we work backwards. I learned this in my programming life. Anytime somebody needed, usually a business department would come to me and tell me about a report they needed, and what they thought they wanted the criteria to be. And I would just kind of stop them there, and I would take them all the way to the end. And I'd say, okay, after you get the report, what actions do you want it to prompt you to do? Because I'm not going to create something that's neat. Just because it's neat doesn't mean it's not actionable. And so once we figured out what they actually wanted to be able to do, what's the action taken? Shut the machines off, host a celebration. Like, what's the red light, green light? And then I would back into, okay, so then what needs to be on the report? Okay, so what needs to be in queries and criteria? What needs to be already held in the database? What needs to be on the input form? And we would go all the way backwards instead of trying to design an input form that we were like, okay, on this input form, I feel like we want and need, but it doesn't even capture the data point that you need for the actual action at the end. And so I would say that's where I bring a technology, a culture creation, a business operations, and outsourcing. I bring those unique views into companies that I just honestly I didn't realize were a unique lens, a different look, an understanding how to put things that are seemingly unrelated together into a very simple plan to follow. So my culture creation, one of my examples in that is, so after I had the whole Lean Six Sigma added to my programming days, I decided to flip a house, and I didn't have a real estate license. I was like, why not? Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
And I didn't go backwards. I made a positive $3,000, I think it was. I watched my real estate agent made more without the risk. So I took note of that, and I got a license, and I joined his team ultimately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
There
so from there, I could then flip houses, and I could, I was just a math guy. That was better margins. I just hedged my bets.
Yeah.
And so I started flipping some houses, and then some coworkers found out that I had a license and asked if I could show them a house and help them buy a house. And I remember looking at them, and I said, I don't know. Are you sure? Because I was just honest. I was not like, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to write a contract for a client. And they were like, no, it'll be fun. And I was like, you guys are crazier than I am. And so we dove in and got him a house. And then over the next, I had some layoffs that happened in there. And over the next few, probably 7 months, I sold 27 houses while I had a full-time job of being a operations director.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was weird and unique. So any real estate folks that are listening to this, they're like,
what? They hate you right now.
On the side, they do. They're like, on the side, you just like crank out 27 houses. What are you talking about? And what I didn't realize is I was putting in 25% of the hours that most real estate agents put in. I had automation. I had systems. I had outsourced folks overseas that were doing a lot of things. I had API tools and systems like Zapier and API Nation that were automatically handling funnel and follow-up. And I was doing it because my sister, she called me ambitiously lazy. And that's the working title of the book that I'm writing right now. She said that when I was about 8 years old. She's like, Trevor, you will outwork anyone so that you don't have to work.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
that sounds like me.
Yeah. And now there's all these very like promoted legit terms of like smarter, not harder. And I'm like, see, I was just ahead of the times. That's all. And
I mean,
so,
I remember looking, I've always looked at things outside the box, and I remember watching baseball, and I'm just like, this is stupid. Why run around on those bases? Just run out to second base and come back. Like, why does it have to be all that? Just make it a sprint back and forth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just too much rigmarole.
I love it.
Bases.
That was great, Chris. I love it.
I just like cut to the chase. Everyone wants to see if he makes it home.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. I was putting in fewer hours. I had this automation. I had this support, and as I learned, I was putting in this 25% of the time that everybody else was. I decided, well, okay, let's lean in and let's scale it. And I opened up a real estate company within the brokerage, and I grew that. And here's the stat that I think I was the most proud of about this company. I grew that from 0 people to 26 agents, plus I think we had 2 managers and 4 support staff overseas, with 0 attrition in 5 years. They didn't not renew their license. They didn't switch brokerages. They didn't switch teams. Nobody left. Nothing changed for 5 years. We just grew.
Wow.
And some of that was a few things that I did very right on accident. And that I just took note of them. And so then I could start telling people, well, you should try the same thing too. I didn't know that it was the right thing to do, but it really was. And so now I had this real estate organization, and now I was flipping houses, and I got into multifamilies, and I started teaching people how to invest in homes. So if any of the listeners here want to learn about wealth creation and flipping houses versus long-term holds versus multifamily versus large-scale syndications, going in on an $8 million apartment complex and owning 17% or something like that, I'm involved in tons of those as well. So again, any of the channels on my websites or social medias, they can reach out to me on that. And so that company scaled and grew out of inefficiency. All I did was scale what was already Smarter Not Harder, and I just kept knitting together all these processes and all these systems, and even to this day, now I run a marketing company, and I come on and I share with others on podcasts like this, and when I can get on the top 1% podcasts, I aim for those. So thank you again for having me on. And
we've done one or two podcasts.
Yeah,
I
a
think
few.
we're up to
Yeah,
3 now.
Are you? Okay.
3,500 or
wow,
something.
you're really getting some momentum.
Yeah, we're gonna do 4 tomorrow.
That's amazing.
We're
Man,
doing 3. We're doing 3 a day. Damn it, Jesus!
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you've got quite the operation going. I love it.
we try.
So,
We were trying to be the Amazon of podcasting, so people can binge whatever the hell they want. But
That's
they tend
great.
to just press play and binge everything.
Yeah.
So now you went through some other crises in your life, cathartic moments. Tell us how you what you went through there and overcame them.
Yeah.
I think I alluded to them in your bio.
Yeah, I've got a few. I've got a few chapters in there where, I was I was very unique in how I perceived the world, even from a young age. And when I was 8 years old, my dad said one of the saddest things that he saw was his son learned how to turn his emotions off and decide if I wanted that emotion to serve me, and if so, then I would let it come through. And so it was this very strange, calculated way. What it was is I didn't like being controlled. And I considered emotions a form of control. So I thought, well, I'll control you. You won't control me. And
plus, that's just kind of emotional intelligence, right?
It is. I took it too far. Yep.
Oh, you took it too far.
I took it too far, and I took it all the way into controlling everything about my emotions, and I controlled everything about my environments. And I thought the only way to be safe was to control others around me. And it was that whole birthing of what one would call a narcissistic way of life. And what was funny is when I was 8 and I flipped that switch, that's when I was actually a softy, empath, feeler, energy of the world. And I was more of that. And I learned and created this false persona to control out of safety. And that lasted into high school, my 20s, and all the way into my early 30s. And I went back and forth a few times on being controlled because I was still fighting I was having Jerry Maguire moments. I was having those moments of, I just don't like who I am in this world. And I didn't know why. And I didn't realize I had created this thing. Well, when I was in my early 30s, a divorce started. And, a divorce takes 12, 18 months to do all the court filings and all that. Well, so as that started, now what I had found myself in was my high school sweetheart and I had gotten married, and we had created an incredibly codependent relationship. Both of us gave up our individual friends. Both of us gave up our individual interests and hobbies. I mean, we had the friends that we went out with together. And then once we had kids, well, yeah, we all could go to the grocery store together, but there wasn't any time of individuality and rest and healthiness. And so, so as that started shattering, that was all I could hear in my head was, "You're not wanted." And I didn't understand the bigger scale and the big picture until much later, but that was what I could feel. And now all of a sudden I was like, well, I don't have any hobbies. I got laid off right then. I didn't have a career.
Oh, really? You got double whammy then.
Yeah. And then my closest grandparent passed away in hospice, and I had never experienced death before, and I had never experienced hospice before. My fiveplex, I bought a 5-unit converted house, and it got bed bugs, and I had to let everybody out of the units. But again, I'm unemployed, and now I'm switching over to 100% commission, and I'm looking at financial bankruptcy. This house is about to take me under. I have to let everybody out of their leases and carry all 5 units of utilities through the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not been working out, so you've got all of that fun extra of just you're feeling stress on your whole system. Um, I am wondering if I'm going to lose custody of my kids because I didn't have a place to live, and I also now had no income. And you got to be able to shelter and feed children. And so I've got that coming in a custody battle along with the divorce, and I have a chiropractic adjustment to loosen me up by a very good chiropractor. Even does more of the sports kind of stuff. But because of the amount of pressure on my entire system, and I had this adjustment, and the artery in my neck would not stretch a normal distance, and the inner wall snapped, and it created a little flap. It was a vertebral artery dissection, and that little flap slammed to the other side of the artery and shut the blood off to the left side of my brain.
That's not good.
And yeah, and my face stopped working. The whole right side of my body quit working, and I called to tell my dad I'm going to head to the hospital because I think I have a pinched nerve. And he's later told me that he could not understand me at all, and
Oh, really?
my face wasn't working.
Yeah.
And
Stroke.
so yeah, I had a TIA stroke.
Yeah. My
And
dad had one right in front of me. I was on a
mm,
video call with him, and
yeah,
I was talking to him, and all of a sudden he suddenly went slow motion,
yeah,
and his voice went like slow motion went,
yeah, yeah. That's what.
and I watched his face droop, and I was like,
Oh,
"Holy shit!" And he's
yeah,
having a stroke. Yeah, crazy.
yeah. That's legit. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got taken to a hospital and MRI'd and all that, and they got to show me where a blood clot hit a part in my brain,
Oh.
and got to start understanding, explaining what happened and why. And I have a very lucky bed of capillaries that allows blood to transfer from one side of the brain to the other. And
Uh-huh.
so I had feeling back mostly in about 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
And I didn't really lose strength. Everything was pins and needles, and obviously droopy and numb. Well, 2 days
Mhm.
later, when you've got you got nurses that are trained like ninjas to military style tuck them sheets into that bed. I'm bent over it, and I'm yanking the covers out of the bed, and my neck pops. And this one was a little more scary. It put me through a second TIA, and this time I lost strength. I couldn't open my hand with speed. I couldn't lift my foot against the weight of itself. I couldn't. My calf was too tight, and I just didn't even have the strength to move the right side of my body.
Wow.
And it was just a re-tear, and it was a small blood clot again. It was no big deal and a total fluke. And they had me on the blood thinners, and that is when I was moved into the Nebraska Med Center. And so the Nebraska Med Center, pretty world renowned, sought after. I'm on the neurological floor. Again, the feeling does come back within about an hour, and I'm able to walk and stuff. And about 3 days there, I'm walking down the hallway, and I remember going through the kind of like shaped like an H. You got rooms on both sides, and then the H, has the crossbar where the elevators and reception is. And I hit that as I walk toward that crossbar. I'm looking in the rooms, and I'm seeing people that you've got a lot of gray hair, and you've got somebody leaning over them. You got somebody crying in another chair. You got another person that's just alone. I'm getting all these pictures, and I look across down past the elevators, and there's a lady that's using the walker, and she moves the walker 1 inch and moves her feet 1 inch and the walker 1 inch, and my knees buckled and my hand hit the ground, and
Wow.
it really shattered me. And I got to understand that I was the only person on this floor that could both walk and talk.
Oh, wow.
Everybody else could do one, the other, or neither.
Huh.
And that was what it took. With all of my belief of control, it
Mhm.
took all of those things to finally crack that shell. And
Mm.
finally, for the first time since I was 8 years old, I could feel again, and feel authentically, feel real time. And now I could connect to other people. I could
Wow.
empathize. I could understand where they were coming from, the pain or the struggles or the annoyances or the angers that they had in their life that
Mhm.
I actually was uniquely equipped to help them with. And so that really is where everything changed in the direction and the reason that I started building companies in a way that I could provide that example or those stories or tools or methods or thoughts or questions to other people that have the same thing going on in either their business life or their personal life or even just their whole lifestyle of where they want to go and be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Sometimes we need those moments to make up with and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need those things. I mean, I think I struggle with being connected to my emotions and empathy. I think I was disconnected for a lot of my life. And my dogs really helped open me up to
Yeah.
just being empathetic and being a better human being. I mean, I kind of cite them for
Yeah.
those things, but sometimes we need to have those moments of clarity. Sometimes they're not the brightest moments or funnest moments to experience, but
Yeah.
the important things we learn from them, right?
Yep. Yep. I
Yeah.
definitely agree. I think as much as I wouldn't wish any of it on anyone, and I can even in my mind think, man, that was too much. That was too heavy. And then
Yeah.
I've had about 3 business implosions since, or
Mhm.
pressures or questions, but I was more equipped to deal with them the next times through, and I didn't get
Yeah.
as low. And it's really given me some hope when it comes to my kids, because one of the concerns I had, everything I've heard people talk about, is if somebody's going to really be successful in life, they're gonna have to go through some of the nasty to then learn how to be on that successful. And you can learn from other people. And but I was like, man, I want my kids to be able to do anything they want. And I want them to be successful in whatever definition they choose. I just don't want them to have to get pummeled like I did. And it was my sister that said, well, Trevor, with what you're equipping them with, they'll still have to go through it, but they won't fall as far and they won't stay there as long and it won't hurt as bad, because you're equipping them to, yeah, still experience and check the boxes of hard and pain that lead to success, but they won't have to live it for 6 months or 18 months. They'll be able to experience a 30-day burst of pain, maybe,
Mhm.
and be able to come out of it with the same lesson and not be so tattered for so many years.
I think that's what my mom did. She would spank us and say, "This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It was
Yep.
a, it was uh, uh, there you go. Who do you work with usually? Is there a certain minimum net worth they have, a certain amount of spend? What are mostly people utilizing your services for?
Yep. Yeah. It depends on who's reaching out and for what purpose. So if I'm working with a real estate investor, and that's our purpose, and we're going to talk through strategies of, one of the things I teach a lot about is, is it time to grow the pile of money, or is
Mhm.
it time to park parts of the pile of money? My number one rule is never invest your last dollar, because now you're stuck on the sidelines. I really promote, make sure that you have a way to grow the pile of investment money, and then use parts of that and park it in wherever you want, but never lose sight of, you still need some of that money to grow it back again, so that you can keep going. Otherwise, you get stuck on the sidelines and you're just watching until you sell something.
Mhm.
And so, if I'm working with a real estate investor, if we're going to flip some houses, it doesn't take much of a net worth to get that rolling. And if I can help someone, if I can help someone make $30,000, $40,000 on a flip house, and I consult them the whole way through, and instead of keeping 40,000, they keep 35,000, and I get paid at 5,000 or something like that. I'll arrange all kinds of agreements designed around that type of wealth creation on the flip houses. If it comes to the larger wealth creation and the strategies that are going to be, probably a call every 2 weeks or a call a month, and then maybe we actually look at some spreadsheets, or we go through your data and your goals and your directions, and we start talking about multifamily investing, or are we going to split it, and where are we headed with everything. That type of stuff I'll set up I'll set up retainers with everyone, and we'll just work together on a project or a process. And that has taken me into a lot of different levels of net worth. So,
Hmm.
I'll have someone that will lock arms with me when they have, if they've done their first one flip, or maybe they did it with me, and then, maybe they've now kept one piece of real estate personally and they want to use that for the depreciation, but then they want to lean into more passive designs for the rest. Um, all the way up into, somebody that's already got, I mean, $10 million of real estate, and they now want to make their systems unreal and
Hmm.
full automated, and outsource where they can, and get machines to do everything that they can, and that world. So same product, same offering, same design of consulting, but with a retainer model. And then
Okay.
in public speaking settings, that can go from coming to do a team workshop, and I can spend an hour or two with a department or a department head and their team, and we can talk about Gallup Strengths Finders and culture creation, and getting people into these flow zones of inspired atmospheres. So you
Hmm.
don't even have to use metrics to hold them accountable, because they're outperforming everything that you could possibly hold them to, because they're
Hmm.
neurotic, just like all of us have been about some high school or college paper or project that we already hit all the criteria. And here it is midnight and 1 in the morning and 2 in the morning. We're still trucking, right?
Yeah.
And so that type of team building in a company or in a culture, um, at a high level, a C level, I've done. How do you actually keep your core values
Hmm.
talked about? That's probably one of the biggest ones, is how do you keep your
Really?
core values being talked about? Because a lot of the times your department heads don't keep it translating. It doesn't become normal conversation. And how do you get all of the folks doing all of the positions and roles? How do you get them decision making based on um, that true core value that you're saying?
Hmm.
And little nugget for everybody: how do you put in the feedback loop? Because I see what happens a lot is you see a lot of the people that are on the lines doing the work, and they're pretty upset because they want to make decisions based on the core values, but they have a
Hmm.
manager somewhere in between that gets their own agenda, that gets their own little empire going, and things start getting twisted, and now a different decision making model gets put in place.
Mm. There you
So
go.
those type of culture conversations at those levels is where I also lean in.
There you go. Now, did I see you had a fund? I think I was reading something in the bio that may have implied you had a fund maybe for real estate, or is that just for you?
So the funds that I tap into, I am a catalyst. I'm a conduit. So
Hmm.
I lock in, and I grab onto syndication groups, and we've got commercial real estate strips, medical facilities or nursing care
Okay.
facilities, um, 200 unit apartment complexes or a series of buildings. I work with about four syndication operators.
Hmm.
So, let's say someone has $100,000 or $50,000, and they want to have it backed and grown by real estate, but they don't want to do anything.
Hmm.
They don't want to deal with tenants and turn and repairs and
Yeah.
property management and materials, none of that. And so we allow people to be an owner in the LLC of just that property. So
Mm.
it's not a REIT. It's not necessarily a trust.
Hmm.
You actually are one of the owners, and so you get the depreciation and the benefits, and you get your dividends. And then basically, what we aim for in most of the projects in all of those operator groups is, for example, over a 10-year period of time, whatever investment you put in, about year 3, 4, we're going to do a refinance, and you're going to get your entire initial investment back. And over the course of the whole 10 years, you triple your money.
Mm.
And that's the simple version of what we target, what we aim for. And those are the funds that we set up, we share, we talk about. Um, Most of them we don't necessarily do full public. We've got to operate within the SEC guidelines, and we make sure that we actually have a working relationship. We have some consulting going on, and we have um, an understanding of what someone's creating and doing, and then we can bring them into an invite into those funds.
There you go. There you go. So lots of different things. Do you ever find it difficult to juggle all these hats that you have?
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody listening. And I'm going to give people some hope that if they're struggling and if they're like, I can't keep this podcast straight, let alone do it. I know that I feel the same way. Okay. I've got some tricks and I've got some tools and I've got some methods. And it's like once you get down a certain set of moves, you can go to those a lot. When you pull your car into the garage, you kind of know when you're going to put more pressure on the brake pedal and then slide it into park. Like, you don't have to think about all those things. It's the same way. I do feel like I have a lot of hats, but I really delegate a ton. I mean, I really do. I implement what I preach. I think the only way I can keep all of this straight is by having technology do an obscene amount of tracking and executing for me. And then I started learning about how I learned I could put somebody's kid through college in the Philippines by hiring them at what I could afford. And it allowed them to just be unreal grateful, produce well, and all of a sudden they had the ability to grow a life beyond what they could ever do. And it was something that I could afford. I mean, the symbiotic relationship that came out of that. I tell people a lot to test this, because I have so many people fight me on, oh, I just don't know if I can give somebody a credit card. Oh, I just don't know if I can trust that. There's places and ways to checks and balance, safety check, make sure that someone's income is driven off of their reputation, meaning reviews. So if they do anything wrong, their entire lifestyle implodes. I like that safety net. And so there's things I've told people: just hire a virtual assistant and order yourself flowers. Order flowers for yourself. Watch. You just got to know. You got to know how freeing this is and what you can do, and then you can move into outsourcing, returning your Amazon boxes. I've even gotten to that point. And outsourcing your mail. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Here, I'll share it. I share openly. Care.com. Have you ever heard of Care.com?
No,
Chris?
I haven't.
Okay. Care.com. Here's its intent and here's its purpose. It's to find a caregiver, a babysitter, somebody watch the kids for a night out. You can also find house cleaners. You can find nannies. You can find a lot of people in a lot of professions on there that are kind of in that same home care aspect. Well, I thought, what if I just found a nanny for me that has run a really big house and has had to order lawn care and has had to order plumbers and has had to return things and has had to do all of these things for this house? What if I just hired them? Don't I just then pay them hourly? And so, to the tune of $500, all of a sudden I don't have to fold laundry and put it away anymore. I don't have to turn the bedding. It automatically gets done every 2 weeks.
Dude, I'm a single guy. I'm doing this, man.
Dude, it's amazing. Like it costs you nothing for now your mental freedom and how far you can run and what you can earn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all that stuff is such a waste of time when you look at your productivity if you're successful.
Yep. I have people work the math a lot and look at what is your potential, realistic potential. Don't go crazy. Like, I'll do the dreaming conversations too, but what is your realistic current day potential earning for the year? Okay. How many hours should you be able to whittle down to so that you're only working a certain number of hours so you have time for the other people in your life? Okay, do the math, and there's your hourly rate. And then we just measure everything against that. If doing the dishes can be hired out at a smaller number than what your potential earning rate number is, you shouldn't be doing it. You're being wasteful. You're being frivolous and throwing money away. You should be out there earning that full dollar amount with your time so you can spend time with your family.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, dishes ain't it. Dishes aren't where it's at. Folding laundry is not where it's at. If somebody runs that operation, great. They can run a great company and make a great lifestyle for themselves. But if you're running other kinds of businesses and doing other things, get out of that lane. That is not your lane.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at, I learned this a long time ago from some sort of CEO or executive over the years. And basically, I would go to the store, wait in line, fuck around with stuff. I would, go do other things. And And then I would look at, how much am I worth per hour? Why am I doing this? I
Yep.
can either somebody else should be doing this, or I should be paying somebody else to do this, because this isn't worth my hourly rate. This
Right.
isn't worth what I'm valued at.
Yep.
And why am I wasting my time doing this? I was like, felt like
Yep.
an idiot. And
Yep.
so yeah, I totally agree with you there. I mean, that's something that take a look at your time and decide what you want to take and do there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I know there's some listeners out there going, okay, but I gotta be the everything. I agree. I understand. I've been, it took me years to accept the title, but I am a serial entrepreneur. I have started up so many companies and done so many things, and some of them have gone well and most have not. But so I'm very familiar with running all the hats. I get that.
Mhm.
And I have a section in one of my courses that I talk about redlining and how I do believe that that is necessary. And I've sat down with my sons a few times and I've said, all right, guys, I got to go into a red line season, and I have to, and I'm talking about like the RPMs, the tachometer on a car, and how you bury the needle up into the red because you have the engine running so hot, so hard, so heavy for so long that it's dangerous. The engine could blow. And I'll tell my kids how long I'm going to do it for. Tell them, all right, I need 3 months. I'm going to redline. I'll still be around. I'll still be present. We're still involved. I'm going to be a little thinner, and I'll communicate that I need a minute or anything that comes up. But I just wanted you guys to know on the front end that I'm diving into a redline season, and then in 3 months we'll talk, we'll revisit, and we'll make sure that everybody's doing okay.
Yeah, that's what I do. I put my kids up for adoption. I put into a red line for 18 years.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
call me when you get out of military school.
There you go. All right.
Dad's got to earn some money. All right. Well, Trevor, it's been very insightful to have you on the show. Give people your final pitch out on how to onboard with you, reach out to you, get to know you better, utilize your services, et cetera, in the .coms.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say if you've got that weight on you of feeling like you have to do the everything and be the everything and always be on, if you feel like you're living in some kind of a crazy rat race life that there's not an exit strategy for, there's not a way to go actually create something that you want to be living, you're not going to be living a life that you don't want or need a vacation from. If you've got all of these dreads in your workspace or in your company, or you want to create long-term wealth or create generational wealth, any of those aches, then trevorschade.com. All my social medias are on there. There's lots of ways to contact me, emails, phone numbers. There's all kinds of everything, and I've got different categories on there for what do we need to talk about. What do you need? What do you want? There's you can book a Calendly with me, or just reach out directly, and I'll be able to ask and learn what you need, where you're at, and we'll start exploring together.
There you go. Learn how to be better, because we all need to be better, folks.
Yes,
I've seen
we
that
do.
lately. There you go. Thank you very much, Trevor, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one, the TikTokity, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. See all the crazy places we're on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you